Hi, I'm Marc Loftus, and in this post-TV podcast, I catch up with Oscar-nominated actress turned director Kristin Scott Thomas, who recently made her directorial debut with the Indian Paintbrush feature, My Mother's Wedding. The film stars SCARLETT JOHANSSON, SIENNA MILLER, Emily BEECHAM, and FREIDA PINTO, with Kristin also taking on a lead role. Kristin was nominated for an Oscar for her performance in the 1996 film The English Patient. Here, she shares her experience directing the new film, which is inspired by her own life, as well as its unexpected challenges.
Hello.
Hey, Kristin, I'm Marc Loftus. I'm the editor of Post magazine, and I'm always excited to speak with a filmmaker, especially a first-time filmmaker. I'm hoping you'll share some of the details of your experience.
Oh, with joy, yes.
So, you didn't make it easy on yourself as a first-time director, being an on-screen talent and having a major role there. What was the experience like?
Well, I think I'm not alone in doing that. I think a lot of first-time directors, when they are actors, end up being in front of the camera as well as behind it. I think that's quite a frequent occurrence. I found it, well, exhilarating and terrifying and interesting and fulfilling and a lot of ings. It was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. You know, I had the idea of what I wanted to see. I sort of thought that with the team around me that I created, I would be able to achieve that. But of course, then I, had to act as well. So yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult.
It was
worth it.
I've seen the film, and I'm looking at like the number of locations you have. Obviously, you have the house, you have the wedding, you have the aircraft carrier. What was the production? How many days? How many locations?
We shot for 7 weeks, and we had, I didn't count the number of locations, but we kept it very, very contained. And that was one of the things I really appreciated about with the producers and the production, was how I managed to maintain a kind of smallness to it. It wasn't spread out. People lived nearby. This is my experience as an actor coming in and influencing my choices as sort of in the production side, is that I felt it was very important to keep a sense of unity and a sense of family and sort of nearness, closeness. So base camp, I made sure that base camp was within walking distance. So nobody had to get in a car, drive for 10 minutes, wait for the lights to change, and sort of. So once you come as an actor, once you came out of your trailer ready to go, you just had to walk a little bit, and then you were on the set. So
and where was this? Is it the English country?
In Hampshire.
Hampshire.
In Hampshire, in England, and we shot in May, June. We had the most glorious weather. The gods were really with us, because when we needed rain, it rained, and when we needed sun, it sunned. So we were very blessed like that. And then we went down to Portsmouth we went down to Portsmouth first. That's where we shot the first section was the last section, as is so often the way. We shot the ship first. And that was quite something as well.
And was that all contained within a single, few days getting the ship?
We had 3 days on the ship. Yeah.
3 days. And like you said, that's the end of the film there with her kind of, amazing. So it wasn't shot linearly front to back.
No. Once we got into the house, we shot more or less in sequence.
Okay. Your director of photography, Yves Belanger.
Yeah.
What kind of look were you going for? Did you kind of consult with them as to what camera, what lenses, aspect ratio, color?
I don't know anything about all that. So he showed me pictures, and I said, no. So I sort of learned that on the job. And I couldn't give you any technical details about that, I'm afraid.
Okay. What did you have in mind visually?
I wanted something that was very luscious. I wanted something that was very deep. And above all, I wanted everything to look very gentle and soft and beautiful, so that there was a big contrast for when we get to the ship, which I wanted to be very hard and linear and kind of aggressive looking.
Okay.
So those are the looks. And so I talked to him very much like I'm talking to you now. And he showed me various shapes and sizes. And I said, yep, that looks good to me. Or can we make it squarer or rounder? Or, you know, I'm not like probably many of your readers. I don't have the sort of technical terms for it all. But all I do know is that I've been the other side of the camera a lot. And so
Yeah.
I know it doesn't really make that much difference to an actor. Basically you need to know whether it's here, or right down to the ground.
And you know, some directors are very knowledgeable about what camera they want to use, and others totally defer to their director of
Yeah.
photography for their expertise. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky to have somebody who is so talented and so agile, and I love the fact that a lot of it is carried, and it's a lot of it is there's a lot of movement in it, and you know, I was really appreciative for that. And also he uses he uses very little extra lighting. A lot of it was very very natural lighting.
It does have the feel of that being outdoor, or even window
Yeah,
lighting and stuff,
yeah,
very
yeah,
natural.
yeah.
How about the use of animation for your flashback sequences? That was something that was kind of unique to this project and visually unique as well. What was the thought behind doing it in an animated style as opposed to a live action?
Well, I think because these are memories, and that memory is an unreliable thing, but they're very sensitive. I really didn't want to reconstruct a kind of mini film with look-alike kids or whatever. I didn't want.
Hmm.
I wanted to keep it really kind of almost vague. So you see some bits of furniture, and then the rest is kind of in the dark, and certain movements would become important, and others would just sort of float away. And I felt that animation would. I love animation, so I find it can be incredibly moving, and so I really wanted to keep that and the mystery of it, and the way the men, that the father and the stepfather, that the character played by Scarlett Johansson is remembering, how they're kind of eyeless because there's no way into the soul, because they're not there anymore. And then except at the end where we see his eyes, and she's made peace with that. So it was a good way of representing something that wasn't quite real.
Who was doing the animation? Did you contract a facility or an artist to do that?
Well, I happen to know someone in Paris called Reza Riahi, and his producer. They work very, very closely with me. In fact, it was one of the first, obviously, because it takes such a long time.
Hmm.
Very,
Yeah.
very time consuming, as you know. And because it's painted on glass, it's a very specific technique, and it really is very time consuming. We had to start plotting that right from the get-go. The moment we had a green light, we were off, you know.
So it was a traditional medium that they were
Yeah,
using there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very interesting. The editor, Joan Sobel, I see. What was the editing like for you? Obviously, you're on camera, you're behind the camera. Did you even have time to look at initial cuts during production, or did post-production have to wait until you were done?
No, we had to wait until it was done. And then working with Joan, I mean, it was such a huge learning curve for me. I think I learned far more in the editing process than I I did on set, because I mean, being on set for me is sort of second nature. You know, I long to see. Today, just driving down through the streets in New York, I saw a film being made. Oh, I kind of yearn for the leads and the plugs
Uh-huh.
and the trolleys. You know, it's sort of that's where I belong. But the editing was a complete. I found it totally fascinating how you can change something. You can either kill it or make it a million times better. And it's just such a delicate art form. It really is amazing, a gift when you're a good editor. To have a good editor is extraordinary.
Where was Joan working? Is she working out of
She came to London.
came to London?
Yeah, she
Okay.
came to London, so it was sort of direct. I was in the room with her.
I thought it was interesting, a couple of scenes, like you have the wedding scene, and you see films where these wedding scenes are these grand events and really take off, but your wedding was very, very short and right to the reception then. I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting
Yeah.
use of time there, and that may have been intentional or
Yeah, it was because I mean the only thing that you really want in a wedding is the I do bit.
Mhm,
And especially because I didn't want it to be about the mother and her husband. I wanted it to be about the girls and their reaction to it. Um, and so I felt that was important to spend more time looking at them and looking at the other guests and the way they received this, rather than the actual, do you take so and so? I mean, that
mhm.
happens in the background and they react to that, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how they feel about it. So I scampered through that quite merrily. And then, as you say, we took much more time at the reception, the reactions to the way people behave afterwards.
The tone of the film definitely changes right after the wedding when there's that confrontation with the sisters. It's a little bit light-hearted in the earlier part of them all reuniting, and then after the facts come out, it definitely takes a different turn. You're not shooting it linear, so is it challenging to just keep that in mind that there is going to be a change in the tone, even though we're not maybe shooting it in the order of that?
I'd always known that was going to happen. I'd always had that in mind, and I always like the dark with the light, and I always like the kind of discomfort of the sort of crashing of two emotions. So I always had that in mind, and I think that my actresses fully understood that, and um, so and so did Eve. Eve was such a great partner in this. He really supported and helped, and um, I really did it with him, really.
In hindsight, you obviously had a very clear vision of what you wanted this film to be, being it so personal. Did it turn out the way you had anticipated? And what do you learn from a film like this? You mentioned editing being so impactful in how a film turns out. What do you take from this going forward?
I it's something that when I started making it, I was very much an actress making a movie. And so I was constantly thinking how to get the best out of my actors and um, how to make them comfortable and how to look after them and how to, give them everything they needed. And I hadn't quite realized that I needed also to take what I needed. So do more takes, do more angles. Even though I knew that I wanted, I knew what I wanted to get to in the end. I knew what for instance, I'm thinking of one shot during the confrontation, actually, when I wanted the camera to kind of move around. But in the end, something happened and we needed some other shots, which I didn't have. So we had to kind of work it out another way. So that was an interesting thing. So now I know that I have to cover more.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I mean, things like that, really basic things that most people making films sort of know, but somehow I skipped over that one.
Okay. What's next for you? I know you're promoting this because it's coming up in the next few days. Is it more directing in your future? Do you still want to do
Well,
the
I very much
on-camera?
hope so, and I'm aiming for that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm going to go off and do a French comedy, and we'll see how things go after that.
Very cool. I appreciate your time. I'm hoping we can talk again down the road
Oh,
about some of
so
your
do
future
I.
work.
Yeah, so do I. I'd love that.
A pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much, Kristin.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.